Ni hao, wish is Stephanie. I want to have a chat with flashcard haters. I feel like I am in the camp of flashcard haters. Sorry, can you tell it's cold? I'm moving from an inside place, an outside place. Somebody told me a name for this. When you live, obviously, in an inside place, but it feels like an outside place because it's so cold inside. I live in that kind of place now. It is lovely. It is decorated really, really nicely. It's in the most amazing part of Shanghai that I love to death, but it is a concrete box. I am moving starting tomorrow for about a week, very, very slowly, into an inside place with heat, my first apartment with heated floors, and I'm really, really excited. But until then, I've got massive outside wear inside. Yeah. Just to explain why I'm wearing a scarf while I'm on my couch. My couch. Anyway, okay, that's not the point. Flashcards. Okay. Wow, something really funny is happening out in the real world when I am studying my flashcards. That's probably the worst example. I'm kind of proud of this example here. I don't remember what it means right now, but I think my handwriting is getting better. Not the point. But it is the point because I am using paper flashcards right now for a number of reasons. One of them medical. I'm still having some problems with my wrist, although it's finally getting better. Yay. But I also am not able to use my phone all the time for various reasons that I cannot tell you, otherwise you'd be in danger. So I've decided to try out paper flashcards for the first time in like a gazillion years. And it's interesting because when I'm in normally cafes or restaurants or whatever, and when I'm by myself, I'll break them out and I'll start making new ones, or I'll be reviewing and putting them into my I do know, I don't know stacks, and I'll be writing questions on them, like on this one here. I've got the question over here. I tend to put the same information in the same spots, you know, consistency, and I confuse that one with na li. So I want to make a note to write on somewhere on the front or back what the difference is between the two so I can see them side by side so that I don't confuse them anymore. A lot of times I'll just say, hey, but I'll write a note to myself also to remind myself to decompose like the first part component or the second component so I can understand it more. So I'll make comments like that in there, which I find really, really helpful. I'll tell myself, yo, rewrite it. This one's crap. Remember to rewrite it next time you see it. So I'll stop and I'll go to Pleco and I'll do the strokes and I'll erase it and rewrite it, which is why I do it in pencil. But as I'm doing these, I've noticed that people look at me weird. The people around me in the cafes, in the restaurants, it's usually those two places. I don't really go to many public places with tables that aren't those kinds of places. So yeah, usually I'll see people around me kind of like look over and be like, what? And last week, the most interesting thing happened. I had someone in English have a conversation, or two people, it was 2 or 3 people right next to me in the cafe, have a full-on conversation about flashcards. And I don't want to say it was mocking because they could see I was learning Chinese, and I probably, if they had seen the other side or seen anything else that I was doing, I was writing in English. So I think they were aware that I could understand what they were saying. So I was being sensitive by thinking, oh gosh, they're mocking me. They're telling me what I'm doing is childish. But honestly, I just think it was interesting. When I get away from that insecure moment, I realized it was just interesting that they were talking about flashcards as I was making them. And why was that interesting? Why is that interesting? Because from the sound of their conversation, it appeared that flashcards had left their mind as a way to learn stuff. And that it was a way for children to learn stuff was kind of what I surmised. Because I listened in, they were talking about what I was doing. I had to listen in. And they were doing it right there. And there wasn't that much space between their table and my table. So I thought it was interesting that it sparked off this thing. And of course they started talking about Anki and stuff like that. And I don't know why I didn't lean over and join in the conversation. clearly they were talking about it so loudly that I probably could have, and it would have been lively and fun, and I could have explained myself or could have given them other resources in addition to Anki, because you know me, I use tech to learn language. I'm not a one-trick pony. But there seemed to be the assumption in their conversation that I am realizing how much I listen to as I tell you this, that people pick one way to learn. And no, heck no, I use everything around me. And this is just one way. It was just the way that I was doing at that moment that they sat next to me and saw that I was doing. But it rekindled all this stuff for them, and they started to share all these stories of the last time they used flashcards. But there was, part of me thinks I was being really sensitive, and part of me wants to admit that this is not the first time this has happened, although this is the first time that somebody sat down and did it in English so I could understand. I have had people look at me in a variety of places that I've done this, and it seems like they looked over and then started speaking about it, but I can't understand enough Chinese to tell you if they were in fact talking about it or if they just looked over and went, huh, and kept going. Because to be quite honest with you, the flashcards that I buy, look at that, they have a little animal on them. So I think here, not just in English medium instruction countries, not just in the West, I think here flashcards are still mostly used for children to learn initial things. But I am learning initial things. I'm learning words, folks. That's about as initial as you can get. So part of me is really defensive, and part of me wants to say to people who look at me and laugh, yo, I'm learning. Are you? And the fact that the people sitting next to me in this one instance, and again there's more than one, were clearly bi, if not multilingual. So whatever they did to learn languages worked for them. Good on you. Please don't crush mine. I know it doesn't. To all the people out there that see me working on paper flashcards, please don't make me feel like I have to explain myself. I know that's partly my insecurity by being such a bad language learner and by constantly trying different things to progress in the language. And partially it's not. Partially there is, not in this particular case probably, but in general, kind of a giggle, like, oh look, there's an older adult woman playing with flashcards. Doesn't she know that's for children? And I don't think that's just my insecurity all the time. Some of the times it could be heightened because of my language insecurity, my cloak of shame. And sometimes it's not. And I just want to say, you know, there is no need at all to have any judgment on anyone who's trying to learn something. I think not just language snobbery, learning snobbery is completely and utterly unnecessary in the world. I have seen this as a teacher. I've seen students do it to each other in the classroom, and I've seen it as a teacher trying to learn, as a teacher who is taking graduate school classes. I saw both professors and all students of mine in the same classes as me do it to everybody, do it to each other. It just, it frustrates me to no end because learning is like so incredibly, I can't believe I just said like, is so incredibly, it's a lifeline for us folks. Life is boring. Life can be really, really monotonous and boring, and relationships can make it more interesting, and learning can make it more interesting. And if you start judging each other, or if you keep judging each other based on what you learn and how you learn, you're crushing one of the things that can make life, that does make life more interesting and more vibrant and more stimulating and more exciting. So cut it the heck out. I just censored that and heck came out, and I feel like I'm 10 years old trying not to cuss in front of my relatives. Nah, you know what I wanted to say there. Cut it out. Stop judging how people learn. Go learn something yourself. I'm so sick of people learning judging. Stop your learning judging. It's bullshit. Damn it. All right. There. I've got it out. I've been wanting to say this for weeks, and it's really, really bugging me. Just cut it out. Go do something more interesting. totally and completely unnecessary. All right, I'm going to go study my paper flashcards now. You can laugh all you want, but sooner than later, I'll be fluent in a language and you'll be sitting by yourself laughing. Oh, that part was so unnecessary. That's okay, I'm keeping it in there. Stop learning judging. There, I'm done. Bye.